Hello, my name is John Rose and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In part 1 of this video series, I'd like to take a closer look at urine therapy. Now right off the bat I have to mention that I don't consider myself an expert on this subject. However, I have been studying it for 19 years. Interestingly, one of the very first things I wanted to study and look up once I upgraded my first computer after 27 years to a computer that could go on the internet back in 1999 was to look up urine therapy, because I found a book at Whole Foods in their little library section on urine therapy, and it intrigued me. I was looking at it, and I like to study everybody who thinks they have a solution to anything to make sure I'm not missing any pieces. But I didn't have a real big budget for buying a whole bunch of books at that time, because I had a lot of books I wanted to buy, so I never bought that book. And when I went back the next day to read some more about it, the darn book was sold, so I never had a chance to look into it, and I was introduced to that in the early 90s. So in 1999, 27 years after I bought my first computer, I bought a computer that could go on the internet, and one of the first files I created was a file on urine therapy. Have not created a file preview for it yet, but I was looking at it earlier today before it came out, and I put the makings of it in the beginning of it, and I'm going to go back and create a file preview and show you guys, possibly, how I create my file previews by taking the best of what's in the file and put it at the top so I can get a big summary. If that turns out like I want it to be, I'll have a part 3. Well, then I'll give a synopsis of what I have come up with, because I'm going to do a little more research on this. There are several threads I want to add to this file I haven't done yet. I'm not sure if I even want to go that direction. Don't know how much energy I want to put into this, actually. But it's an interesting subject, and it reminds me of that saying, condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, wait a second, I understand how the lymph system backs up into the body and how urine doesn't just include what was in the blood, it includes what's in the lymph system. So there are myths that are associated with urine therapy that they don't understand, and most of them really don't understand the disease process, which again brings up an interesting point. When you don't really understand the disease process, you really don't have a good picture of any type of modality that I would put under the art. There's the science and the art of healing, or solving problems that are 100% within our control. Science is the law of cause and effect. There's 12 essential needs. The art has to do with ripple effect, 2 additional temporary needs, the damage we've done. So there are a lot of protocols that follow under the art that deal with the damage that's been done to the body or the environment and society. But for us, healthfully, society is just the environment and our own body's damage. But then, again, we have those 2 groups of needs. So all of my videos, I always try to explain the importance of satisfying these 2 groups of needs, the science and the art. And I always emphasize that you never want to apply the art without the science, and this is what most people who practice urine therapy do. They don't understand the science, and they're not satisfying their needs. Interestingly, I'm sure a lot of people are successful at urine therapy, or it's beneficial for them, partly because their kidneys aren't filtering anyway. So there isn't all that waste in there. But when your kidneys are filtering, the last thing you want to be doing is drinking your urine. But why would you ever want to drink your urine? Well, there's a lot of reasons behind the science of urine therapy. And I'll go into that more detail in my further videos. I'm not going to make this video really long. I'm just going to kind of give you an overview of what's to come on this one subject matter. The argument basically that's presented is that it works sort of like homeopathy / isopathy. The law of similars. And a classic example of how this can work is when people are allergic to a substance, and when we urinate, the kidneys are getting rid of things that don't belong inside of us, but sometimes what doesn't belong inside of us is what's not needed in our blood. A lot of things that are in our blood just before it goes into the urine are useful, but there's got to be a right balance. So if there's too much of something, there can be good things that leave the body. And of course, some people are saying there are urine stem cells. And a lot of people, when you hear the testimonies of how this works externally, it's amazing, especially when you look at aged urine. It's almost like it can build new tissues and bones. There are miraculous stories of people with 3rd-degree burns, and they use aged urine and they apply it topically, and it's like it grows new skin. Other people say it grows new tissues and bones, and I guess it has to do with the stem cells. In fact, also very interesting is a cancer specialist here in Houston, Stanislav Brzezinski. who uses urine as a therapy for cancer, anti-neoplasm. And poor man has been attacked repeatedly by the FDA, taken to court. He wins in court all the time, and they keep dragging him back because his therapy actually works better than what they're using now. Is it what we want to do? Well, it depends. Externally, it's used for a lot of things. I remember reading long ago, I can't remember which book it was. I think it was Daniel Reed's book, The Tao of Health, Sex, and Longevity, but I'm not positive, where women, I don't know, I think it's in Areola's book, Pablo Areola's book, where he said that women in Denmark or Norway, some of those countries, Sweden, that's what it was, use urine on their face, and that was their beauty secret. Jason Winters, in his book, how he healed his cancer, the Jason Winters story, British man, used herbs to heal his cancer, told a story about this kid in the army and how he was the only one in a whole platoon out of like 500 guys that didn't have athlete's foot. And the platoon sergeant, whatever, said, "Son, what's going on? Why are you the only boy out here that doesn't have this on your feet?" He goes, "Well, I do what my dad told me to do every day in the shower, and that's pee on my feet." Well, you know you can use urine if you get stung by a jellyfish. I mentioned it when I got bit by a spider. It can be used for that also. But then a lot of people swear by taking it internally. And this goes back thousands of years. 2,500 years ago, Buddhists drank a cup of their own urine every day, and they consider that part of the secret to being healthy. And why could it be healthy? Because some of the things that were in the blood prior to it being in your urine were actually not waste products, but excess products that could be useful. And when recycled, does things a little bit differently. So, am I an advocate of drinking your own urine? Well, I guarantee you, if I was in a place where there wasn't any water, I guarantee you I'd be capturing my urine. And I'd know enough to capture it in 2 different sections and make sure to cut it off in midstream. That's when you hear about people who drank their own urine, they always catch it off midstream, so they get rid of the bad stuff in the beginning, where it's more clear. There was a story in my file. I just glanced at it again just today. It's about a 93-page file. It'll probably be about 113 pages, 20 pages maybe, by the time I finish putting a file preview on there. But they talked about this, I think it was a coal mining accident, if I remember it correctly. And there were so many people that were trapped in there, and some of them drank their own urine, and they all survived, and the ones who didn't, they died. So it sounds disgusting. I still have a knee-jerk gag reflex when I think about it. It's kind of like piece 13 in my special teaching tool. I call it amygdalosis. We have that emotional reaction before we have an intellectual reaction. Remember what Aristotle said, the mark of an intelligent mind is the ability to entertain an idea without accepting it. So when you look at urine therapy closer, you realize it does fall under the art, but it has nothing to do with the science, because you got to change what you do. That's the science, the law, cause, and effect. We have 12 basic essential needs: air, water, food, sunshine, exercise, sleep, but then we damaged ourselves. And if we're damaged, if we have allergies, for example, you can actually use your own urine that will create antigens that will help you not have those miserable symptoms. So, as long as you're removing the causes and you still have symptoms, remember that's one of my 2 additional temporary needs, are the subsequent causes that don't go away just because we remove the primary causes. You can remove what you do, we can remove the primary causes overnight. We can stop doing what we're doing, but we can't remove what we got overnight. And in those cases, we can use the art, possibly. And that's possibly where you might be able to use something like urine therapy. But it brings up a really interesting point. Because if you're not applying the science, if you're not eating the right food you're supposed to eat, and then you have allergies because of that, and you do urine therapy and the symptoms go away, it could do more harm than good. Because those symptoms might have been what it got you to change what you're doing. So I don't like people who use the art, not the science, because it can take away our motivation. However, I don't believe in anyone suffering. If you already have the mindset that you're going to remove the primary causes and change what you're doing, and you're still suffering certain symptoms, and urine therapy could be beneficial for your condition, and it's beneficial for quite a few, then it's something to consider if it's something that fits in your paradigm. Again, I can understand why someone wouldn't want to do it. I still have not done it, so I can't speak from experience. I'm qualifying, you know, this whole video. I'm not coming out here saying I know everything there is about urine therapy. In fact, there's a lot I don't know about a lot of things. That's why I say when it comes to the art, no one knows enough about all the different protocols and modalities and all the ways we can be damaged to really be considered an expert in that field. I feel extremely incompetent in that field. I know so much, I know I don't know anything practically. It's frightening when you realize how complicated life can be when it comes to individual damage. For example, my hair color. Someone pointed out recently when I did a video about age-related diseases. This isn't age-related. It is for some, not for me. I turned gray in my early 20s. So it appears that my mother did something that damaged my cells that were to produce this. Just read a study May 2nd or something like that, and that's what they came out and were showing. That when the mother was pregnant, if she was introduced to certain toxins, it damaged the hair follicle cells that, or whatever it was, that produced the hair pigment. So one of the claims that urine therapy works for is to bring back the color of your hair. Now, I've tried a lot of things to bring back the color of my hair. There's a lot of theories out there that claim that they can do it. I haven't tried the urine therapy yet. Onion juice is supposed to be good for it. And it might work if it's an age-related condition. I'm not sure if it works if it's a defect in my actual genes. That's why this can get really complicated. We're a sick species. Every generation we're passing down defective bodies that have all types of flaws that might be or might not be repairable. DNA damage can be repaired, but if you are missing a gene that's supposed to tell your body to produce beta-glucan or pigmentation for your hair, I'm not sure what we can do unless we can use the urine stem cells, which we'll talk about a little bit more in my next two videos on this subject if I decide that it's worth showing you how I put together my file preview. Chances are it might take a real long time to do that, and there's a good chance all I'm going to do is create the file preview and then codify that information in my brain and spit it back at you. Give you a little bit better idea. But for now, don't close your mind to this. And I understand how the lymph system works. It doesn't make sense if we're doing what it takes to apply the science where we're eating our biologically adapted food, the fruit that's supposed to get the lymph system moving, and if the kidneys do start filtering, the last thing I think anybody would want to do at this time would be to use urine therapy. But maybe this might get the kidneys filtering. I don't know. There's a lot I don't know about it. And again, there's several threads on a message board I've been meaning to go back into and add that to my file. I haven't done it yet because I know there's quite a few of them, and it's going to require quite a bit of reading, and I'm not sure if I want to put that much energy into this subject matter because it all applies to the art. Now, there's a lot of people who are firm believers in this, and some of the ones I've seen have trouble eating fruit, so they're damaged. We can't blame fruit when we can't eat it. It's not the fruit's fault in most cases, although it could be, because we don't grow our food for the quality and the nutritionist of it. It's all about making the money, which is the wrong approach because food should be everywhere. I should be able to reach over there and grab some food. That's not the case because our society's been damaged, the environment's been damaged, but most importantly, we've been damaged. And whenever we're damaged, we've got to be open-minded to all those things that fall under the art that might be useful. And taking it orally is still a tough pill for me to swallow, so to speak. Externally, it makes a lot of sense, and again, you read miracles about how it can repair tissues, and it's almost like people putty from what I've read. Anyway, keep an open mind. Anytime we can entertain an idea without accepting it, we're in for a treat.